Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Meg Reeves. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Robert Featherstone. Robert Featherstone was born on the 4th of May in 1921 in North Ipswich, Queensland, the son of Robert and Mary Featherstone. Known as Bob, he grew up with his family in the Ipswich suburb of Booville and worked as a carter. He was also a member of the local militia, the 49th Battalion, known as the Stanley Regiment. Throughout the initial stages of the war, militia battalions were used to provide training for conscripts who were called up for short periods of continuous service. As tensions in the Pacific grew and the possibility of war with Japan became more likely, measures were taken to improve the defences of the islands to Australia's north. The 49th Battalion embarked for Port Moresby in New Guinea. Mobilised in August 1941, Featherstone had just under a week pre-embarkation leave before embarking from Brisbane on the 13th of September 1941. At Port Moresby, the battalion was occupied digging defences and labouring. The battalion undertook little training, boredom was high, morale was low, and the unit reportedly had the worst discipline on Moresby. Japan entered the war at the end of the year, and by the start of 1942, was rapidly advancing through the Southeast Asia and the Pacific. By March, Japanese aircraft were attacking Port Moresby. The garrison was strengthened to cope with the battles along the Kokoda Trail and at Milne Bay, but there were little change to the 49th's routine and their training remained basic. Featherstone was attached to the 39th Battalion in May 1942, and the following month, the battalion was ordered to proceed up the Kokoda Trail to block any possible Japanese overland advance. He returned to the 49th Battalion in July as the Japanese attacked Kokoda and the 39th were forced to withdraw. By November, morale within the 49th Battalion had improved, with more combat experience and jungle training. The battalion had expanded and more than half of its personnel, including Private Featherstone, had volunteered to transfer to the AIF. As the tide of the fighting in Papa turned towards the Allies, the 49th Battalion joined the fighting on the northern coast. The Japanese positions were well prepared and heavily defended. At the end of November, the men were flown across the Owen Stanley Range to reinforce the attack. The 49th moved into position along the St Andrew Road and on the 6th of December. Supported by the 55th and 53rd Infantry Battalions, its 4 companies, each about 100 men strong, attacked the next morning. Attacking with all 4 companies, the 49th suffered heavily as it came up against heavy machine gun fire from well-situated and concealed Japanese positions. Over the course of 5 hours, the 49th lost over 60% of its assault force and the attack had failed. In 5 hours, the battalion lost 14 officers and 215 men, killed or wounded. Close to 60% of the attacking force, just under half of the battalion's full strength, were casualties. Among the dead was Private Robert Featherstone. He was 21 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his name is listed on the Port Moresby Memorial and is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice